Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Pardon me, Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. I'm sharing some thoughts with you of how the Bible defines the day of the Lord, the coming of the Lord. And we're doing so by going back to the Old Testament, which the New Testament writers tell us specifically and repeatedly is the source of their hope for the coming of Christ. That is, the judgment coming of Christ. When we go to the Old Testament and we see the language that is used there to describe the day of the Lord, number one, we find that the Lord had come many times in the Old Testament. Furthermore, he had come with a shout, in flaming fire, on the clouds, with the angels, and he had destroyed creation. Now, if the Lord had used that kind of language to describe his sovereign actions within history, not to put an end to history, pardon me, but within history, and he used this nation to judge that nation, and when he did so, he was said to come, then this becomes paradigmatic for our understanding of the New Testament language, and we will demonstrate that more. Now, I've made a special offer. Some of you taking advantage of it. We really appreciate that. What I'm sharing with you is developed extensively in my book, Like Father, Like Son, on Clouds of Glory. This is one of the most extensive discussions of the language of the day of the Lord that you will find anywhere. And for those who watch my YouTube videos, go to my website, www.eschatology.org or www.bibleprophecy.com. Order the book, Like Father, Like Son, on Clouds of Glory, and it will charge you postage. However, if you will mention that you saw the offer on YouTube, I will refund the shipping to you. Save you $5. So take advantage of that. We're in the process of studying Isaiah chapters 29 through 37. The historical context is that the Assyrians, under the Assyrian king Sennacherib and his commanding general, the Rabshakeh, have come before the gates of Jerusalem. The Lord has said that he was going to punish Jerusalem and Judea for their rebellion, for their sin. And so the Lord is very clearly intent on punishing Judah, but he's not going to carry them away into Assyrian captivity. Notice back in chapter 29, we've already looked at this a little bit, but he says to Judah and Jerusalem, you will be punished by the Lord of hosts with thunder and earthquake and great noise, with storm and tempest and the flame of devouring fire. Now, boy, that sounds like it's the end for them. But remember, God's also said, if you will humble yourselves before me, he said, there will be on every high hill and on the tops of every mountain flowing rivers, flowing streams. And he said, the moon will be as bright as the sun. The sun will be 7 times brighter. Now, I think you'll agree with me, the sun is not 7 times brighter than it was in Isaiah's day, or else the earth would simply not exist. So as we've already seen, this metaphoric language. Now, again, the Lord turns his attention to Assyria and how he will protect Judah and Jerusalem from the Assyrian army. Notice in chapter 30, verse 30, the Lord will cause his glorious voice to be heard and show the descent of his arm with the indignation of his anger and the flame of devouring fire, with scattering tempest and hailstones, for through the voice of the Lord Assyria will be beaten down, who struck with a rod, And in every place where the staff of punishment passes, which the Lord lays on him, it will be with tambourines and harps, and the battles of brandishings he will fight with it. For Tophet, that's outside the gates, that's the valley of Gehenna, was established of old, yes, for the king, that's the king of Assyria. For the king it is prepared. He has made it deep and large. Its pyre is fire with much wood. The breath of the Lord like a stream of brimstone kindles it. Wow. God says he was coming out of heaven, fighting against Assyria, and Tophet, valley of Hinnom, had been prepared for the king of Assyria. Now you have to understand that the valley of Hinnom was the city dump of Jerusalem. It's where they put dead bodies that didn't belong to anyone, that were too poor and they couldn't afford burial and what have you. And God said he had assigned Assyria to Tophet, to Gehenna. Now watch this. In chapter 31, verse 4 and following, as a lion roars, and as a young lion over his prey, when a multitude of shepherds is summoned against him, he will not be afraid of their voice, nor be disturbed by their noise. Watch this. So the Lord of hosts will come down, the Lord of hosts will come down to fight for Mount Zion and for its hill, like birds flying about. So will the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending, he will also deliver it. Passing over, he will preserve it. Verse 8, then when? When the Lord comes out of heaven, then Assyria shall fall by a sword not of man, and a sword not of mankind shall devour him. But he shall flee from the sword, and his young men shall become forced labor. He shall cross over to his stronghold for fear, and his princes shall be afraid of the banner, says the Lord, whose fire is in Zion, and whose furnace is in Jerusalem. Wow. Okay. God said to Jerusalem, you trust me, you don't shoot an arrow, you don't raise your shield, you don't throw a spear, and I will come out of heaven in flaming fire, with tempest, with hailstones, and with thunder. Wow. And he said, I'll come down and I'll hover over Jerusalem like a mother hen, or like a bird does over its nest. I will defend Jerusalem, and Assyria will fall by a sword that is not of man. Well, it just has to be the end of time, right? No, this is against Assyria. This is against the king of Assyria, for whom Tophet has been assigned and specially prepared. See, this is all imagery. In our next lesson, we're going to see the fulfillment of this. And yet, God never literally, visibly, bodily, may I use the term physically, he never came out of heaven. And oh, by the way, there wasn't even a literal earthquake. There wasn't literal fire. There wasn't literal hailstone. There wasn't literal thunderings. None of it was literally fulfilled. This is metaphoric, apocalyptic, may I use the term, spiritual language. It was never intended to be interpreted literally, as way too many modern Bible interpreters do. Well, hey, I hope you have a great weekend. Hope to see you on Monday. God bless.